Perfect, we're recording. Thank
Tinker
you so
and
much,
Matt.
Bill. Thank you so much, Bill, for this interview for Geeks.com. We're a website.
Geeks.com, love it.
No, we cater to a geeky community and then our
Oh,
sporting
really?
community. So if you think about it, comic
What's the
books-
second community? I'm sorry.
Sporting community.
Sporting,
So everyone who's, of course, sports lovers along with the comic book lovers and whatnot. So we had a couple of questions to ask. I actually did have the pleasure of reading your book as everyone recommended it. And I just had a quick question.
Did you read the whole thing?
I did.
I love you, man. And you're still talking to me. Wow.
No, it was honestly, I loved how witty it was. It wasn't boring. I would have preferred this in my 7th grade class versus the hard textbooks that put you to sleep. But I just had a question about your 21st chapter. You put it out in a witty way, of course.
Okay, go ahead. Which was the 21st
Did
chapter?
you talk about the imperfections of humans and
Oh,
whatnot?
we're good enough?
And yeah,
Good.
well, what brought about that chapter? As I was reading it, I'm like, well, I wonder what this chapter, what do you think of that idea?
We're good enough?
No, but how like, you started listing out our imperfections, how we're not perfect enough. That you started listing out how like the esophagus.
Oh, you mean the problems with the design of the
Yeah,
human?
yes.
I mean, it's an old idea in evolutionary biology. You know, as I say, I consider this book a primer, a description of the fundamental ideas in evolution.
Nice.
So I was taught that, I was shown this problem. Why do you put the air intake right next to the fuel input? You know, you don't put the air filter next to the gas tank. You put the exhaust pipe on the other end of the car, for crying out loud. But nature didn't do it that way. And you could say, well, we're perfect and we just don't understand nature. You could say that. Or you could realize that we evolved. We are a product of billions of years of trial and error, and this is as good as we could do.
This is true. Okay.
Well, you say this is true, so you agree with it.
No, it is, especially when you talked about how things have been changed, like dinosaurs became into birds and everything else.
That's
so
right.
It's true, trial and error and a lot of evolution, as you said.
Yeah, well, the designs that didn't work got eaten by the designs that did. Yeah.
Of course. And I remember during Game 7 of the World Series, you sent out a tweet that a whole bunch of people loved. Do you care to elaborate a little bit more why no one should dive into first?
When you're, now, that's not a blanket statement on that play. You dive into first if the pitcher's trying to pick you up. For those viewers who might be in other countries and do not have a fascination with baseball, I understand, but hear me out.
Of course.
Keep in mind, baseball is a game as well as a sport. This is to say you're moving players around the board very much like chess pieces or checker pieces. You move around the board. Or any board game. So in the rule of baseball, for those listeners who are not hip, not down with this, you when you run to first after you hit the ball, you don't have to stop at first. You can run past it and still be declared safe and still have still become a player on the chess piece, on the chessboard of baseball. But this guy has probably watched the famous base runner. It was a guy named Ricky Henderson. Broke every record. He was a tremendous athlete, and he could dive Superman fashion into bases and live through it. Hardly anyone else can. That's first of all. So people get this in their mind, players get it in their mind that diving head first, I'm as cool as Ricky Henderson and I'm going to get there. And you get this thing of diving head first instead of feet first. The problem at other bases on the chessboard of baseball, you have to stop when you get to the base. If you go past it and the guy has the ball, he can touch you with the ball and you're out. Not true at first base. All this aside, the instant, the moment that you leave your feet as a runner, you slow down. As soon as you stop providing propulsion, you slow down. And the thing is, in that particular game, Kansas City Royals versus San Francisco Giants, it almost became, and I'm not the first guy to observe this, it almost became the Kansas City Royals versus a pitcher named Baumgartner. This one guy dominated the whole series, and he clearly was enough of an athlete, good enough shape, that even without 3 days of rest, which is what's traditional, he could come back in and get people out as a pitcher. So everybody knew this guy was coming. So every base runner was precious. And this guy dove into first and was out. And so they lost a base runner. They had 2 outs instead of 1 out. And it was a spectacular play at second base by this guy Panic. I mean, that was Major League freaking play right there. But nevertheless, they squandered a base runner by not having discipline in the fundamentals of baseball. And I'm not any kind of big baseball. I'm not an especially good baseball player. But that much I understand.
I see. And for our final
It's
question.
physics.
No.
It's physics.
And just for our final question, because I know we have to get wrapping. For our geeky community, who is your favorite superhero?
Well, Superman. I mean, I admired Superman, but I think my favorite superhero, I gotta revise it, was Batman.
I see.
Because he's a guy, right? I mean, if you just got yourself in good enough shape and you could think so fast, you outthink every bad guy. I could do that, man. I could do it in a cape. Guys jumping off of buildings and using the cape. Come on, I could do that. I tried it as a kid with bath towels. It wasn't that effective with a safety pin. It's not that effective. I don't recommend it on anything higher than like a stepping stool.
No, of course.
Or the arm of this chair. But Superman, I mean, you know, he was the first guy out there. He could, I mean, if you could fly, how cool would that be? Yeah?
I agree.
And the Flash, I always liked him. You know, because I run sometimes. What if I could run so fast I'm a blur? I mean, that's not bad. Much as I liked her, I never wanted to be Wonder Woman. That's not really my thing. You know? I know probably not anything wrong with that, but it's not really my deal. Green Lantern. You know, I like yellow objects. I'd be sad if I was debilitated by anything yellow. You know that his ring doesn't work on yellow stuff.
That's true.
But he's good looking uniform. And what I always liked about all those guys, they're so fit.
This is true. They
Yeah.
really are.
Now, you're a woman, you might really like it. Yeah, but I think practically Batman, but all things considered, Superman.
Well, Bill, thanks so much for the interview. I really appreciate it.
I mean, I like Spider-Man.
Of course.
I mean, I think we all kind of have a spidey sense. Mine certainly does tingle from time to time, if you know what I'm saying. And it'd be great to be able to climb walls. And when I worked at Boeing, we had a whole Peter Parker theme. We did a lot of Peter Parker stuff.
I see.
The flap, these graphs having to do with how fast flaps and ailerons were deployed were supposed to be written by Peter Parker. It's a hilarious joke. And we ordered pizza as Peter Parker. Peter Parker's Pizza, come on. Do you know Pete Peters from Philadelphia, PA? He's a Fred Astaire character. It's all good. Thank you, Erika.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Geek it out, baby.
Thank
Geek
you.
it.